Tell us a little bit about his secrets about essential oils. I think John is in. Here we go. And we are just waiting for John. Hey again.
Hello,
Hi,
how are you?
John.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you accepted my invitation. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Oh, we have a lot of happy people joining.
Hello, hello, hearts, waves back.
John, I had an intriguing comment in terms of essential oils.
Yeah.
Someone just mentioned, oh, isn't that just to make your house smell good? What do you respond to that? I didn't know what to
Well,
say.
first of all, I say yes, it makes your house smell lovely. That is true. But it is much more depth to aromatherapy. And I teach medicinal aromatherapy. So
Mhm.
I teach it as medicine. I teach it not just as scent. But I would say it's really that's what most people know. So there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it. The sense of smell is a powerful sense, and
Mhm.
so by inhaling these essential oils, you're affecting your olfactory sense. It goes right to your emotional brain. So there is actual emotional and physiological reactions that are happening as well. So the medicine of the plant is within the essential oils. So the consciousness of the plant is within pure essential oils. And
Mhm.
so it's much more than just the scent. That's the beginning. What I teach people is how to work with the consciousness of the plants via your sense of smell, smelling these essences. Because when you really are smelling something, first you're present, and then you're actually have the ability to access more information inside yourself. So, in other words, the aromatic molecules of the essential oil go up through your nose, right to the emotional brain, and you automatically bypass that ego, that pesky ego that gets in the way, the defense mechanisms.
The
So, yep, there's
voices.
the monkey mind. And so, when you're actually present, you have deeper access within. So, that's really what I would say to it. So, yes, you're right, it makes everything smell good. Now, with your intention, you can actually take it much deeper with your sense of
Mm.
smell. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
smell is actually the first um, sense that you get from our five senses. It's the
Mhm.
first one that you get outside of the womb. Of course, you have
Yeah.
your auditory, but even before your vision gets fixed, you
Mhm.
get that smell. You kind of find mom's
Yeah.
smell and milk smell and that. So it's very
Absolutely.
primitive, right?
Absolutely. And it's one of the most powerful scents for that. You know, there's sayings, I smell the fear on you. I smell this on you. It's actually the more attuned you get to your sense of smell, you are really leading with your nose most places. And so yes, like smelling your mother, having that sense of a lover or a loved one or a
Mm-hmm.
sibling or a child. You actually have this deep emotional connection through sense of smell. And that's the genius of aromatherapy is that nature knows, like we're one with nature, and
Mm-hmm.
the plants know this. They know how to access us quicker, and that's through smell. Like if you're smelling one of your favorite flowers or favorite scent in general, you're immersed in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're physiologically immersed, mentally and emotionally immersed in it, and it could be good or bad, but you're
Of
immersed in
course.
it nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah. And being aware as well, right? Because if we're aware of the impact that the smells or the senses have within us, we can also have a choice, right? I catch myself sometimes going like, no, this is it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. When you, there's a couple things that can happen with paying attention and becoming aware. So, first you notice lavender's making me smell good. That's nice. And then I want you to notice, what is it making you feeling emotionally, physically? Do
Mm-hmm.
you feel calmer? Okay, so what's happening is nature, everything outside of ourselves speaks to us through our senses. So these plants are speaking to you constantly, through our sense of smell is one way, through sight, through sound are other ways, and taste, of course, through food,
Mm-hmm.
and herbs and all of those medicines. So it's actually, they are speaking through your senses. So to not just cut them off, I would ask people working with oils, especially I know people have been locked down or more cooped up or working on issues during these times, is to ask for the plant's wisdom to come in as you're working with them, because that's what's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
first your sense of smell, and when you add your intention on top of that, your brain and your thoughts and all of your emotional information starts to congeal around that intention. And the plants are really good at helping you to access that information more readily.
I feel that. Sometimes I put something on my diffuser and it's like it's perfect, but it hasn't finished. So the next day
Yeah,
I turn it on again and it's like, no, this is not the one.
exactly. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so interesting.
You can
Sometimes it's like
know.
yesterday was perfect and somehow now it's like not working.
Yeah, there's something about, and I would say on that note, there's some people and clients that I work with when they will literally hate a smell that they choose in my office when we were doing it live, for instance. I would have my clients choose an oil because I want them to connect with how they are hearing and feeling
Yeah.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and using their senses to really become empowered in what they are experiencing. And then when they pick an oil that's stinky to them, they're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Ew, I don't want to do that. And what I then guide them back to is similar. It's not always pleasant, but it's information. So
Mm-hmm.
just like when people are having anxiety, I always guide them to, where in your body is that? What's the information being provided? Instead of making it about the unpleasant feeling, it's about, let's
Mm-hmm.
get to the information. So sometimes I get the difference. Like for you, I get the sense, yeah, that's not really working. I'm not really feeling it. Follow that. That's great. Now there's some where you get an emotional charge and it's not so great. You might smell it the next day and be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry. I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
frustrated. That's something to explore with that plant.
That's information.
Yep. So not to
Interesting.
discard something that's stinky, I would notice the difference between, it doesn't smell, I'm not preferring the smell, it's kind of neutral, versus, oh my God, I'm actually angry right now when I'm smelling
Mm-hmm.
this. Like, that's something to explore. And it could actually benefit you. And because the plants will work on dislodging things that don't bring balance into your life. So that's one of the main components of this medicine is plants are all about harmonious balance with their own bodies, their own ecosystems. You see it in nature all the time. They find ways to adapt, to
Yeah.
strategize, to become and remain balanced. So they do that with us. If we're out of balance, they will dislodge things that are creating imbalance. So it's not always pleasant,
Mm-hmm.
and as humans, we don't like that, but it's actually out of a loving place because they know that once we become more balanced, we're more healthy, etc.
Oh, I love that. Let me just say, please feel free to ask any questions. John is uh, a huge source of information. And if you want to type in
Bring it
English,
on.
I'll translate. So feel free in Portuguese. If you want to type in Portuguese, I'll translate and
Great.
we'll go from there. So, John, I believe that this time is inviting us to pause and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that from the beginning, and I actually kind of welcomed, to tell you the truth, that part of it. I
Mm-hmm.
actually I found it stripped away the noise and got to what really matters for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for some, it's hard. There's fear, there's anxiety, there's all these kinds of things of the unknown, so to speak, because the
Yeah.
world has shifted, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I know certain oils or plants their energy is something that I've been using to help me stay present. So I feel like it's a time for us to really remain present because you're not alone, first of all.
True.
None of us know what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may pretend they know. There's conspiracy theories, there's all this stuff, but nobody knows. So don't worry about it. We're all in the same boat together. So one thing we can do is choose how we deal with this vast unknown space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a choice, how to navigate that. And so, um,
We have a question
my
here.
question.
Do you recommend a specific brand to use?
I do. I have. I work with a brand called Wisdom of the Earth. They're
Mm-hmm.
out of Sedona, Arizona. They're on my website. They're all the oils. You can look at all of that, see what they're all
I'll
about. Oh,
type here your website
thank you.
so people can have access.
Yeah, and I've been working with them for rainbow. So
Mm-hmm.
it all synergizes together one at a time. And in nature, that's what plants do expertly. They're really, we can learn a lot from just how they are embodied on this planet using their physical form. They really don't have all the complex stories, the judgments, and so we can really absorb that wisdom. Our
I
essential
love that.
oils, which is really their medicine. They use that for themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, I bet, because they use it to protect themselves, even if they're poisonous, to not be eaten by animals and things like that,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, yeah, there's some research that came to my knowledge about Norway spruce and how some of the chemicals within the Norway spruce's essence, and that the essential oil is in every plant. And that goes back to the first question of the lavender. And, oh, that's nice. It smells good.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the medicine from the plant itself. So it's extracted, and therefore it's all of the things. It's like their blood, and it's everything that courses through the plant that keeps it healthy and keeps it adapting to many pathogens, like you were saying, Angela. And COVID, there was a match with Norway spruce's RNA, which is kind of their own DNA, with the COVID, which means they were theorizing that it somehow was under attack, maybe by an ancestor very closely related to the one out now, and therefore it could potentially be good news for. I don't know if they're going to do a vaccine with it, but or potentially I have that essence and I've just been pouring it on because I'm like, well, I mean, if it has some information to pass along to my body, I'm all for it. So
It's funny because it was Norway spruce that I used the day that I actually
yeah,
recorded the video with you.
yeah.
And I was kind of puzzled why I picked that one. And I
Well,
was going to ask you and forgot, and now you mention it.
here's an interesting thing, and it's funny. And our friend Eric also has a connection with Norway Spruce. I sent that out to him too. It's really interesting. So it could be that that gives us, and by utilizing the medicine, we put that into our bloodstream. Our bodies start to remember how to become more healthy, how to use our immune
Mm,
system better. Like we absorb that intelligence from the plants into our body and mind and our emotional body as well. So we start to maybe get a little more creative. We get to move through change easier. You know, that's what we were talking about just a little while
that's
ago.
what we
How do
need.
we move through change? You can really work with any of the oils with that. It's all about your intention. And like Angela was saying, you know, I was drawn to the Norway spruce. Like following your intuition, like if your gut's telling you to work with something, it's something to explore. That plant might be speaking to you through your senses. You know, we
Mhm.
all respond differently. I get knowings. That's often called clairvoyance. Everybody
Mhm.
has this ability. It's nothing special to me, but I just have experience working with them. But
Yeah.
there's people, some people hear the trees, some people just get a sense of a feeling, or
Mhm.
knowing, or all of them, you know.
True.
But I know people that hear tones or musical notes when they're working with these essences. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. So, if we are just starting, if people have never experienced an essential oil, what do you recommend? How to start? What's the ABC of getting into it?
ABC. Well, I offer consultations, and that's something that I offer with people because it's complex. It's something I would say look on the store, kind of get a feel. But a consultation is always a good thing because you want to get to know basics. So basics, if you can't do that, I would say go and understand the sourcing. I gave you one source, and you would want to know that they are working with farmers directly, that it's not so hard to find out. Like if the person in a company you're exploring doesn't have an answer to the farming methods, doesn't have an answer to that, that's like our food. It's a no. It's a
They
no-go.
don't
If you're
know.
using
Yeah.
these on your skin, in your ingesting, it's kind of a so sourcing the company is really important. Then, and that's something you want to know. If they can't answer simple questions about where these are coming from, that's a big no-no. If they're blending, just look into why. Like you should be able to talk to the owners because this is something that is important, right? That's
Yeah.
what I found. And so I have access to the owners. Anyone does, really. You can contact them and feel them out. Trust your gut. Trust your heart and your senses when you're sampling oils. That's the
Hmm.
other thing. Sample a bunch of them. Get a sense of what's out there. I'll tell you stuff at like Whole Foods. It's not going to be medicinal grade because of market value. It just doesn't make sense. But
Hmm.
it's a good thing to kind of train your nose. Um,
Okay.
and but then if you're really serious about diving in, it's definitely worth a consult. I
Okay.
do offer 30-minute, like free 30-minute consults just to get you started, just to actually like help you get on the right track for that.
And you're doing that online now?
I am. Yep.
So if people
Yep.
go to this website, I pinned it, so the
Absolutely.
information's right
Yep.
there. You can schedule
You
something
can
with you.
schedule something online. Yep. Yep.
Good.
And yeah, so once you get the basics of that, using them and training them, that takes just a bit of instruction because you do want to use caution. You don't want to start drinking and pouring and whoops, I got them in my eye. What do I do? So there's certain things, and that's why I teach. It's really important to know. And once you know how to use them properly, it's simple. But in the meantime, if you have some oils, you can use a diffuser. Those are great. Try to stay clear of thick essences, like things that are resinous, that will clog your diffuser. So citruses, pine,
Ah,
spruce, fir, those are perfect and they're antiviral. So that will get into your air. So that's
okay.
that's one easy use. And just inhaling, you know, honestly, to get started, use your olfactory, use your
Yeah.
nose, smell, and do what I was mentioning. Like practice with how does this make me feel? What am I
Hmm.
thinking when I'm working with this? And even better, bring an intention. You know, what can you show me in my body? Where am I afraid? What can I work on? And notice what comes through your body. You have all the answers within. The plants know this. And the greatest thing about this is plants will not do your work for you. They'll help bring it to your awareness. I love that. They're
Hmm.
not like invasive in that way. They're not
I
harmful in that way.
love
They
that.
literally work with your intention.
I love that. I often tell that to my clients. It's like I cannot do anything for you, but I can
Yeah.
work with you in
Yeah.
order for you to see what's there and pick and choose what's the most appropriate action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're there as support.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly, I have many people who, we're used to at least in the Western and here in the United States, used to having people like prescribe, here, take this, take that. And I immediately give it right back. Sometimes it's met with annoyance. I'm fine with that. You can be annoyed with me, but I'm not going to take your power. I won't do it. The plants don't do that either. It's really all about, I've seen people that really mistrust themselves turn into very strong, intuitive, capable beings who no longer are going to every doctor or asking 50 people the same question. They're trusting their gut first. And that's like the main thing why I do what I do and why I bring these plants in and aromatherapy is because when you're accessing this medicine, first your sense of smell is activated, but that's the beginning. You know,
Mhm.
it really activates all of your ability to listen and trust yourself, your knowing.
I love that. And that's my experience with you. That's how I feel because when you use it, especially in combination with meditation,
Yeah,
it's a trip. It's just amazing.
it is
Every
a trip.
meditation is it is.
It's
It's
a trip.
amazing.
We
Yeah.
go on a trip. I go on a trip with you. Like, it's fun because I know I mentioned this in our YouTube interview, but um, I consider myself just a messenger for them, a messenger for the plants and trees, and that's one way that I love to do that is through meditation. So it's it's a process of surrender and just trust and trusting myself too, trusting myself enough to just let the thoughts that are coming through come through and out.
Mhm.
And over the years, I've noticed that sometimes the words that come out while I'm doing that touch people, and they don't know how I could have known something. And quite frankly, I didn't. I'm just listening to through the
Nice.
plants.
Yeah.
And the plants are extremely psychic and aware. I will bring that in because when we're working with them, they're aware, rooted into Mother Earth, and also completely connected to everything around us and the energetic grid around the planet. So think of the trees and plants as big, giant antennas of emanating Mother Earth's messages.
Yeah.
Boom. And so we're actually not much different, honestly. And they we move around a lot. So we forget and we think a lot. So we forget. We disconnect from that. But the plants are aware all the time 24/7 and they are aware of each other and they're rooted, connected underneath and above. So in every direction so they can actually connect, help us to remember that too that we're not alone. We're actually all connected. That's one of the biggest medicines um, that I find the plants healing in my clients is that original disconnection from that. It's
Mm.
almost called like the original self-betrayal, where we disconnect from those things. And when we come back to that, it's amazing, like what you feel when you really feel that collective energy again.
I love it. I think it's my experience in terms of the ability. I call it abandoning myself. So when I abandon myself, then there's that disconnect.
Absolutely.
When I just own it, whatever's here might not be pleasant, might not be good to experience or feel good. But if I am with myself, then the possibilities are endless and they emerge
Absolutely.
even if sometimes I have judgments about it.
Of course, we all do.
Yeah,
We all do. I think that's the point. Like when you know your own poison, so to speak,
yeah,
your own judgments, your own, you know, whatever it may be that gets in your way, that's half the battle. You can
yeah.
actually start to then make different choices. But you have to be aware. And I think, that's what this is all
Yeah.
about.
That's what it's all about. It's really the invitation of returning to our, I call it my essence in terms of my essence, which is interesting. I just realized that now.
Yeah.
But it's true, it's returning to my essence when I'm back to being myself, my fully
Yeah.
self, then I get reminded. I often say that I am the universe. I'm made of the same particles. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
then,
I mean, and when you can really get that message and embody that and ground in that message that we are literally the universe is inside us. Every answer you ever needed was inside you. You're good. You're good to go. And then you feel safe. You feel supported. And when you feel
mhm,
safe and supported and love comes in, then you start to receive more of that. You are
yeah,
what's happening is you start to thrive. You're not
yeah,
surviving anymore, you're thriving. And that's what the plants do every day.
yeah,
I learn from them every day. It's like a constant reminder. Thriving, not just getting by, not just living. What's your passion? What how are you watering yourself, so to speak? You know, watering your own garden.
It's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's literally it. Yeah.
Knowing what nutrients. So, John, I love how you combine things with your meditation. Could you give us, if someone never used essential oils and meditation, how can
Mhm.
we combine the two?
Yes, there are a couple ways. So um, I have many guided meditations online now. Everything's been going virtual, as you know, so that's an easy way. You can join in anytime, and
Yeah.
actually, in a lot of my meditations, people do join in with oils, from home, and so
Mhm.
that's one way to do it. Um, but you can actually work with them. So, like I said, if you have an oil, you can actually just simply make it simple. It doesn't have to be something complicated. A meditation is a focus inward. So it could be just focusing on your breath and having a bottle of any plant under your nose and just observing. And what I mean by observing is just observing, hopefully without judgment. It sometimes don't get frustrated if all that comes up is judgment.
Mhm.
Hey, it's knowledge is power. If you actually can see all of that stuff, the ticker tape that goes across your mind, that's a powerful meditation. Is it pleasant? Not necessarily, but don't knock it because you're going to actually then be aware of what's going on in your head and you'll be better equipped to choose. It gets boring. Honestly, like those kinds of things, the more you observe them, it's easy to leave behind after a while.
Mm.
So it's just a practice. And so, simple breath. Focus on your breath like a wave. I like that kind of analogy. Your
Mhm.
breath is like an ebb and flow, inhaling, exhaling. And so think of it like a healing wave and just having the plant under your nose and just notice what happens. It's
Oh.
very simple. I may do a lot of visualization in my meditations. You can visualize if you're very visual, and feeling is feeling roots coming out of your feet going into the earth while you're doing that. You can add that in. That's an
Mhm.
easy, very exploratory kind of feeling. So
Mhm.
just imagining roots sometimes coming out the back if you're laying down, in the back of your heart, in between the shoulder blades, or the bottoms of your feet, or right out of the root chakra. Just kind of explore and play with these roots, like feeling that downward motion going down to the earth and just connecting to that earth energy that way.
That
Just a
is one
simple
of
little
the
bit.
most, yeah, one of the most grounding sensations ever that I get.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that.
It's a feeling, and I think the most important thing is that you feel it. You know, if it's just simply, okay, I feel it more when I'm just breathing, stick with that. You know, stick with that. If the roots make you feel something, go with that. You know, but it's all about sensation, and the more you feel, the more visceral it is, the more you can imagine. One of the key words I use if you have trouble meditating is imagine, because
Mm.
imagination is information. Don't get that twisted. That's actually just as valid as anything else you see. But it's really, it kind of opens you up to play. You know, it's not so serious. It doesn't have to be so like you're wrong or right. You're just exploring, imagining. Imagine yourself here. Imagine yourself there. It gives you permission, I find.
Good. Well, John, thank you so much for
Uh,
sharing with us all your
it's
wisdom
a
and
pleasure.
all these senses. I'm so curious. It's a cool concept. More you feel, more you can imagine. It is true.
Yeah, very true.
And it is, as you said at the beginning, it is a practice.
Yes.
The more that you connect with it, the better you feel and the closer you get. But the invitation is just the same, is to come back to yourself and come back to yourself.
Come back, yeah, and come back and just um, being gentle and just exploring. Um, I want to say we're all right and we're all wrong. So
Mm.
let's just leave that out the door and just explore and see what's inside, um, and enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. So we have beautiful and wisely simple. Thank you. And thank you. Very interesting.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you so much, John. It
It was a
was,
pleasure.
as always, a pleasure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this lockdown to end so I can finally get my massage that's been
Yes,
scheduled
I
like
know.
a month
Someday soon.
ago.
Someday soon.
I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Yes,
Thank you, John.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone. Thank you for being here.